What up, y'all? It's the one and only King Wayne in this bitch. And today I want to talk about something that y'all know I usually I guess in a sense I am talking about myself, but I'm going to pair it with one of the trending topics that's going on social media or YouTube rather, because I don't really know what's going on social media because I'm not on that bitch. But it's funny. Somebody was asking me yesterday, "What's your social media?" I ain't got no social media. I only got YouTube. So if you want to see me, subscribe, bitches. But no, I'm gonna talk about being a stepdad today. Um, and I got an interesting story. So stay locked in.
Shout out to King Wayne first before I get started. Crowning. But anyway,
So what up, y'all? Um, it's the king, and I'm out running some errands. I'm about to go to the market, grab a few things, and I just wanted to tap in. I see a lot of like people talking about like stepfathers and how that shit is like not a thing and how you shouldn't be a stepfather, blah blah blah. So I wanted to weigh in and give my 2 cents on it, because I, in sense, was a and I don't really want to look at it like a stepfather, but I guess when it's all said and done, I was a stepfather. It was crazy how it happened, but I'll give y'all a little bit of the details and give y'all my take on what I think about it for the fellas. If I'm gonna answer the question right away. Do you think there's a benefit, or should these guys like look into being stepfathers, or dealing with women who have kids? If you don't have kids, the answer is an absolute no. Don't do it. It's a setup for failure, because at the end of the day, and the crazy part is, I um I have like a very distinct situation where it was like I had to learn that I was a stepfather, not from a sense of like me feeling like I was the dad and then I found out that I wasn't the dad. Like I knew I wasn't the dad from Jump Street. Like I made the choice to be the dad. Like I made the choice to be the dad before me and the mother even got into the like into a relationship or a situationship or whatever it is that we entertain. And then once that crashed for us, which I kind of knew, I kind of had like an idea that and I would say this all the time. I kind of had this idea that once me and her split, or once me and her didn't work out, it would be a wrap for me and the child. And like clockwork, it's what happened. And at the end of the day, I had to deal with being the bad guy, turning into the villain, and all those type of things, because you don't, and rightfully so, because I don't expect a child to turn against their biological parent. For me, that's not what I'm asking for at all, but it's like the work that you put in and things that you do just go overlooked when it comes to trying to still have a relationship with the kid, because the 10 times out of 10, the mother will absolutely can that because of the way she feels about you, and she don't want to deal with, I got to think about it from the standpoint of like she don't really want to deal with the fact that you could be doing well and still playing the parent role if you're not doing well with her. So that's what I really had to go through with the situation I had, and it was pretty heartbreaking. You know what I mean? Because you build a bond with the child, especially me, because like I said, my child was my child before, I even entertained, her mother. But at the same time, it was kind of like the decision to even walk down that road was a mistake for me. And I knew it was a mistake at the time. And I kind of just did it because of the circumstances that I was in. That's something you got to be careful with too, fellas. And even so much so, like I don't generally deal with women with children, especially because my child is 18 now. So like I had my child since she was born, basically. Her father, and since went to jail when she was 1 or 2 or getting ready to turn 2. But even before that, like I was around for the child and blah 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 and this that and the third. So it was like a conscious decision that I made, and it's crazy because a lot of people don't know that that's not my child because I've had her so long. Most people I haven't even told about the situation, so it's funny that I'm telling y'all, because this is something that and that's how I am when it comes to me going through shit. I really don't talk about it to people because people don't have nothing good to say about drama, or now I don't even really want to call it drama, but problems. Like it's things people don't know about me that I've been. It's things my mother don't know about me that I've been through because everything ain't for everybody, right? Sometimes you just got to compartmentalize things. But I felt like I wanted to share this to just give my unique perspective on that particular thing because a romantic relationship it always starts out like roses, like peaches and cream and all that stuff because everybody has the idea of what they want versus the reality of what it is. Wait, hold on guys, I'll be right back. Yeah, I'm back, y'all. I had a phone call come in, I had to answer that. But yeah, like I was saying, so yeah, and then you got to deal with the fact that like that is the parent, so that parent can create the narrative that you can't create because the child technically isn't yours. Like I couldn't fight for my child in a courtroom or anything like that. So I really just had to deal with it um for what it was. You know what I mean? Like, and I understood it, especially when it was ending. I felt it. I was like, this. And the crazy part was I always thought this, and I would say this to her mother. I said, "Yo, the crazy part is, us not working out is going to be the death of the relationship with my daughter. I already know it because you're going to turn her against me, like she absolutely did. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying this to say like she's bad, good, or indifferent for doing so because people are going to do what they do or do what they want to do, and you really can't do nothing about it. You just got to deal with it, especially in situations like this. I hate this little thing I got because it don't hold steady when you hit like a little bump or something like that. But we still gonna get the message out. And as far as like the step parent part, that's me like understanding the role was never really like a father. It was more convenience. It was more out of need because even before me and the mother, uh, explored anything, like I took care of the child, like I like financially, emotionally, physically. Like it wasn't like it was like really a father thing. I had a whole girlfriend at the time when I met her. With me and her mother was, when I met her mother, she was pregnant, right? So it comes from a different aspect. But then I got two aspects because then I had another girl I was dealing with, a girlfriend, and our relationship, was it ended badly, all that stuff. But I remember when we were together, this when she had a son, and I it was weird because like it wasn't weird, but the situation with my daughter, it was a very different ball game because my daughter was my daughter regardless of the relationship I had with her mother. Like it didn't start like I started dealing with her mother, so in turn I started taking care of her daughter. No, I was taking care of the daughter before me and the mother even explored anything and helping the mother out with things that she needed, right? Case in point as to why she probably even wanted to mess with me for the, among other reasons. But it never was. We got together. It wasn't from an attraction thing. It wasn't from a standpoint of like I like you, you like me. And not to say that I didn't like her mother at the time, but if I had my pick, being quite honest, I wouldn't have picked her. You know what I mean? And that's why it didn't work out. It kind of was out of convenience. And sometimes when you do things out of convenience, they blow up in your face. And rightfully so. That's why I'm not mad about it because I made the decision to deal with her when I could have made the decision to be like, look, we don't need to roll down this road. It's not the best thing for her or even us. And clearly it's not what happened. But then the other girl I was messing with, she had a son, and and I like in the beginning, she was like giving me this this like it wasn't like an ultimatum. I don't want to say that, but like, she wanted me to be in the son's life once she introduced him to me. And the crazy part about it was I initially didn't even want to do it because, and the funny thing was, dude, the young boy dad was still around. So I'm never here to replace anybody at the end of the day, especially in situations where like it is a romantic thing. It was romantic with her. So more or less, I didn't want to cross that line, and she was, trying to make it to where we, you know, I I just wasn't with it. When the young boy would be around, I just kind of let him do his thing. I didn't want to be all up in his mix and his face. And secondly, like I'm not a young boy either. Like I'm not really here to be. That's one thing about me and children. I'm not really here to be friends with kids. Like I think that's the problem with these kids now is we just too friendly with them. We treat them like they equals instead of children. I wasn't raised like that. I wasn't raised to address adults by their first name and all this type of shit. This is what these kids do nowadays. So, and these are things that I would implement. I remember when she first introduced me to her son, she, was like, so and so, this is Jason. And I shook the young boy hand. I said, how old are you? And I forget how old he was at the time, but he told me. And I said, yeah, my name is Mr. Moody. Like, you can call me Mr. Jason, but my name is Mr. Moody. Like, you got to think of the mindset that these women have. Like, you're introducing this child to me like he's an adult. He's not on my level. He's not the same as me. He's not equating to me. Like, we can't do that. So even from there, it was kind of like, uh, yeah, I really don't want to be this kid's stepdad. And it was something I felt from the beginning, which is why I kind of like kept my distance. And out of respect for his dad, because he still spent time with his dad. It was so much so I would even tell her, you know, why don't you go let him be with his dad? And she was like, because can't nobody raise him like me. Blah, blah, blah. Women think they can raise men or think they can push men past the. That's why so many of us men are in the situations we are now because we're being raised by women. It's just not a good thing. But, and when stepdads, and I think stepdads create a situation where women get to undermine men to show out for the kids that makes it worse, right? Because I would do little things like, she would like for me to I would help her around the house. I would cut the grass. I would like shovel the snow and shit like that. And it got to a point where it was like an expectation, right? And for one reason or another, people get attitudes behind expectations when they're not met to their pleasing, but it would be things where I'd be like, get young boy so I could take him outside with me to shovel this snow. And these were things she wouldn't do. Wasn't like the little nigga was a baby or anything like that. He was really of sound mind and body and could do these things. She just didn't want him to do these things. So this was the taste I was getting of if I did become a stepdad to this young boy that I really wouldn't have any say. So I got it from both ways to show the fellas there's really no benefit when you meet a single mother, especially an older single mother, because she ain't really going to consider you. Because people that say this all day too, and I had to think about this. These single mothers will say they want the best for their children, but they really don't, because even in the situations they had with the fathers, most of them left. So they weren't thinking about the child when it came to that. They was thinking about themselves. Like if you really thought about the child, and I look at it outside of something that's like absolutely terrible, like just getting your ass beat, blah, 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 this, that, and the third. And I'm not sitting here saying that I know exactly everything that they went through, but I know they went through some things that were kind of traumatic with that on a level that you I've been through enough stuff to understand that trauma and bad things come for you to work through them, right? Because I didn't work through all my shit. Like it just is what it is. Everybody's not built for it. I can say that part, but it was like some of the things that happened were things that I feel like they went through that you could have looked back on it and been like, yeah, we could figure this out. But a lot of these women are set up to disregard us in that manner. So, fellas, if she ain't with the dude and you know, she trying to figure it out with you. Nah, leave that shit alone. Leave that shit alone. And it was crazy because it was another situation that Shorty was in when I met her. She was messing with some dude that worked at her job, right? So when I met her, I was like, well, what happened with that? Like, why didn't you get with him? And she was just like, well, he just wasn't on that type time. And I thought about it because I guess boy was, based on what she said, boy did all right, blah, blah, blah. Boy probably was like, yeah, I don't want to deal with you and this bullshit you got going on. Like, we could fuck, but I'm not trying to be this nigga stepdad and blah, blah, blah. That's the route I should have took. I tried to be lovey-dovey with this girl, and it all blew up in my face. It turned into a bad situation. Blah, blah, blah. More power to her, though. I'm not trying to say anything bad about her or my daughter's mom. Even if I never speak to my daughter again, it's just something that I'll never close off to me because it was something real for me and I always want her to have the best. But fellas, leave that shit where it is. It's not worth it. Find you a woman that don't got no kids, so y'all can continue to not have kids, or y'all can have kids together. Don't blend these families, especially when you're doing well. You know what I mean? Like if you're doing well for yourself, leave that shit where it's at. And even if you're not doing well for yourself, leave that shit where it's at because it's not going to bring you. I saw Kevin Samuel said this one time, and I had to think about this on a different level. He said how he was talking to a girl. She was talking about how she wanted to a high value man. You know what I mean? This high value man shit is funny, but a high value man, and with a high value man, you know, she had like 3 kids or something like that, and he asked her, how are these kids going to benefit this man? And she couldn't like fathom him asking, damn, this is a long, they doing road work, so they got to set the stop sign, but could they stop the other fucking way for a second so we could go? We've been sitting here for like 10 minutes. But yeah, he was asking her, how would this benefit this child? She looking at it like, well, he's supposed to be the benefit. He's coming in to take care of us. And it's like, these ain't his kids. I feel the same way, buddy. I thank you. I appreciate that. I feel the same fucking way. Like, 'cause we've been sitting there forever. But yeah, I thought about it from that standpoint of like, you really are expected to come in and serve emotionally, not only for this woman that you're courting or trying to date, but her children, but you know what I mean, like her kids, and that's no, I don't want the voice prompt right now, and that's like heavy as shit when you think about it, because you have to be responsible in a way that don't really benefit you for a kid that could turn his back on you one day or turn their back on you one day. So it's like, no, I don't really want to do that, because regardless of the relationship that you build with the kid, if the mother is not pleased with how the things ended with you and them, they're gonna do whatever they can do consciously to drive a wedge between you and the child. You know what I mean? Once again, not thinking about it, giving a fuck about the child and what the child wants. I got a good friend of mine. Hold on, y'all. My phone ringing again. This is a crazy video. Yo, the trap is jumping this morning. My phone going off. My phone will never ring this much, but it is what it is. Business is booming, baby. But back to the subject at hand, right? So yeah, and it's not to say anything bad about single. Oh my god, y'all, not the voice prompt. It's nothing. It's not to say anything bad, because I don't make my videos to bash anybody. I make my videos to show the things that I've been through and what I've learned from them, and just to pass it on to, people who may be going through similar things, or people who are putting themselves in position to go through the things that I've been through. And I'm not saying that you'll have the same experience that I've had, but I know more times than not, stepdad is not the way, y'all. Don't be a stepdad. If you gonna mess with a woman with a child, lay it down that it's like, let the child's father be the child's father, and let me just be me. Like, I could be cool or cordial with the kid. I'm not trying to say, because that's all I was trying to be with the young boy. I had made up a little handshake with him and everything. I'm not a monster or anything like that, but it's like, I had to understand I'm not this nigga's dad at the end of the day. And he got a dad. You know what I mean? Like, he has a whole father that should be in his life, way more than I should. That's just the way I looked at it. I don't want to replace anybody. Even from the standpoint of my daughter, her father had been in jail since she was 2, and he's still in jail now. He got like 23 to 56 years. So I don't know how long he's going to be in jail. But they went to see him maybe 3 years ago. They went to go visit him because I told her to. I've been telling her for years, take this child to see that man. So it wasn't even like I was on a situation where I was like trying to keep her away from. Nah, like I raised her as my daughter, but I never forgot that he existed as well. You know what I mean? Because like, that's still his child at the end of the day. You know what I mean? I wanted the best for her, but I didn't ever want her to just forget that he existed. You know what I mean? So, and maybe it's a good thing that, or maybe it was right on schedule that we did rupture the way, and maybe she'll get a stronger relationship with him. You know what I mean? Which is fine. That's one is, although he had quite a few kids, but you know what I mean? Like, that's, he's been sitting in that jail. Absolutely, go see that man, talk to him. You know what I mean? Like, have a relationship with him too. I never looked at him like he was a bad guy. He probably did the crazy. The crazy part about it though. No, I ain't even gonna talk about that. But there you go. I ain't even gonna talk about that, because none of us are perfect. That's why at the end of the day, regardless of what they went through and all the things that happened with him, still go see your father because that's your father. We all make mistakes. This life is about making mistakes and learning from them at the end of the day. Mistakes don't condemn you. Even if you locked in the cell for 50 years, you're still not, you know, still don't have to be the result of your mistakes. You can always grow from where you went wrong. So that's why I always was open to be like, yo, let that child see her father. Period, point blank. So you know, I feel like that's a good thing that came out of it, that she got to see him and he got to see her, because I made it so. Because if it was up to her mother, it would have never happened, because she was still holding on to a lot of bitterness for the things that they went through. So you know, it just is what it is. So um yeah, it's not making this video to diss women or say women are not this or not that or blah blah blah, this that and the third. You know, I know I just said a whole bunch of nothing, but I'm making this video to say, you know, just when selecting somebody that you want to be with and they have a child, you just got to be very careful, because it's a very dicey situation. Trust me. I know niggas that had helped out and took care of people's children, and the shit blows up in their face. Not for nothing, I do have a guy that a friend that got a stepson that he's, you know what I mean, like he got a really good relationship with after the breakup of him, the split up of him and his wife. You know, him and his wife had two other kids, but she had a son when he met her. But he still gets them, and she, you know, he'll stay with him and stuff like that. So it's not always all bad, but that's why I said 10 times out of 10. So I'm gonna take that back. 9.8 times out of 10. It's not a good idea, because most women don't have the emotional capacity to let that be a thing, because they're thinking about moving on and thinking about the fact that y'all didn't work and all that different type of stuff. So you know, my situation went from you're her father to I allow you to be her father. And it was like, okay, really, that's how that's going? Oh shit, I needed to go that way. That's how that's going. But these are the things that you deal with. Being a father is a thankless job. So being a stepfather is chopped liver, yo. It's like, I don't give a fuck what you think or how you feel about none of this shit. So just be very careful, because it could get like that for you if and who wants to go through that, especially if you actually genuinely love the child. You know, I genuinely love my still, you know, when I ruptured, my daughter was barely speaking to me, which was crazy, you know, because I really love my daughter more than everything. I still do, but I understand at the end of the day, everything is not always what it seems. And as far as that goes, you know, you just gotta let things be what they are, and they'll play out the way that they need to play out. If I never speak to my daughter again, as long as she has a good life, that's all I cared. If I was able to just, you know, like give a little to that, then my job is done. I did. Oh my God, this video gonna be crazy because this joint keep moving and swirling. But y'all get the message. Y'all hear my voice. That's all that matters. Um, but yeah, that was my main thing with my child, is just making sure that she had the best and the best example. I'm not trying to sit here and say I was the perfect parent, because it was the first time I ever was a parent. You know what I mean? I learned a lot being a parent. Um, but at the same time, you know what I mean? Like, I get life is life. At the age of 46, you know, the things I've been through have taught me, don't take none of this life shit too seriously. Don't let none of it stress you out. And don't be a stepdad. But no, you know, the fellas, y'all, just have a talk. Just make sure you have that talk with your woman. If you are a stepdad, have that talk with your woman. You know, especially if things are dicey. And I know some of y'all probably do feel this pressure. Talk about it. Talk about it. And if it doesn't work to your standards, leave. Roll out. Find another woman. Find a woman who don't got kids, yo. Because dealing with that shit, it don't be worth it. It don't be worth it. So on that note, I'm saying no to being a stepdad, because I've been a stepdad. I've been an almost stepdad, and that shit never works out. And I don't have no kids. That's the crazy part. Like, that's another thing. You know, you get so frustrated that that starts to be a thing. Like, you start thinking about that shit. Like, this is not even my fucking child. I'm dealing with this stupid shit. You know, especially with all the things I've done for the child. But you know, it is what it is. Like I said, you do things for people that wouldn't even piss on you when you was on fire. I'm on fire now though, and I don't need y'all to piss on me. That's the difference. But anyways, yeah, let me get out of here. I'm about to pull up to my first errand of the day. Knock this out. I'm gonna go get me something to eat. I'm gonna get a workout in. But yeah, no stepdads, no ma'am. Yeah, we know ma'am. All 2026, we know ma'am. Al Bundy, we bringing it back. No stepdads here. Hard enough being a regular dad, let alone a stepdad. Yeah, say no to that shit, y'all. But anyways, I'll holla at y'all in the next one. These videos just gonna keep coming because we lighting up. Shout out to everybody that's checking in with the channel, everybody that's subscribing. They coming one by one, but they coming. That's all I care about. It's like the faucet. It's like drip, 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 drip. Eventually the faucet gets turned on though, and that joint is like psh. So that's coming. That's where we at with it. Shout out to everybody that's giving love, and shout out to everybody that ain't. You know what I mean? Everybody that's watching that don't like me. Y'all are the most valuable piece to the puzzle. I love y'all more than y'all think. I don't hate y'all at all. I don't hate anybody. I'm in too good of a stride right now to hate anybody. But anyways, let me go because I could talk all day. But this is another one. I'll see y'all in the next one. As always, it's only one way to do it. That way. Peace.
Shout out to King Wayne first before I get started. Crown him. But anyway,